And welcome to Indian time, to the show. Today, the month of January, or else it's called the Stinchtuspanis. And later on, after the fur traders and trappers, it was changed, and some people call it Stapske. Stinchtuspanis is called the Shaking Hand Month. A long time ago, the Indian people would welcome the New Year. They would wait until the New Year at midnight, and they would sing the shaking hand song, and everybody would go around shaking hands. And after they shook hands, and then they would have a meal, and then they would go on. And, a lot of people sometimes would go to the next house and visit and wishing everybody Happy New Year, and that would go on throughout the night sometimes. Later on, after the trappers and fur traders showed up and the introduction of rifles, and they would welcome the New Year by going out at midnight and shooting off their rifles. That's why it's called Stapske. And then a lot of people still continue doing that today, shooting their rifles off at midnight to welcome in the new year. Although because of the increase of development in homes, a lot of those things have, even those things are kind of fading away, or we're losing that because we can't do that anymore because the areas are too populated. For those people that are still living in areas that are not so populated, are still able to go out and shoot their rifles at midnight to welcome the new year. Our place name for this show will be Timsumkli, which means no salmon, and this is what we call Lolo, Timsumkli. Timsumkli is a part of one of our creation stories where Coyote was supposed to bring the salmon over from the other side to the Idaho side, bring it all over. And the whole story, no, I won't tell you the whole story, but the story goes that he messed up. There's several versions of it, but our version, one of the versions that I know about is that when he got close to the top, he needed to go to the bathroom, and even though he was told not to stop, not to put the salmon down, but to continue on over the hill. But as he got close to the top of the hill, he had to go to the bathroom, and he put the salmon down, and the salmon rolled back over on the other side. Therefore, we don't have any salmon on this side of the mountains in the Bitterroot. So that's one of the stories that we have in our creation stories, and that's why we call Lolo Timsumkli, no salmon. The plant or the animal for this show will be Chichilech, which means muskrat. Chichilech is one of the main fur-bearing animals that the Indians a long time ago used, trapped for not only for clothing, for food, but later on in years, as I said, as the fur traders arrived, they started using this, selling or trading these animal furs or animal skins for other goods. So that was an important part of Salish people, not only as a food, but as a part of clothing, decoration, and then later on as something to trade. The plant is, this show will be juniper or puntlp. The stem of punt was used to make a medicinal tea for colds, and even colds and pneumonia, the real kind of hard stuff. And I remember my grandmother had to make that every time I got a cold, and she would make boil some juniper and tea, and I tell you, that was some awful, awful tasting stuff. But it worked, you know, the medicinal part of it worked, and it always seemed to cure. And you know, we forget today, we forget to continue, you know, to use those things, because it's so easy to go to the store and get something for your cold. But those plants still continue to work for people. So that will be the plant for today. Some of the things that are coming up that I'd like to remind you again is tomorrow, which is going to be our workshop, our monthly cultural workshop at the Longhouse from 9:30 to 3:30. And if you have any projects, as I said before, that you need help with, bring them down. Some of the elders that are there will help you put the project together. If you don't know anything about a project that you would like to start, they'll be there to help you out with some of these projects. Also, there'll be some groups with language. There'll be some groups with different things going on. So please come on down and learn a little bit about the Salish culture and the Salish language. Also coming up on Thursday, the 17th, is the annual Woodcock feast and dinner, which is I believe this will be the 80th memorial feast. It's been going on since the death of Isidore III Woodcocks after he passed away in 1921. Then after that, the following year, the family, my grandmother, who was Isidore's oldest daughter, in Susep, and they started this memorial feast, and has been going on for 80 years now. This will be the 80th year, I believe, that the feast has gone on. Very seldom throughout the years has it ever been changed from the 17th. If it has, it's been moved. This year, because there'll be a wake going on at the Longhouse, the memorial feast will start at 10 o'clock in the morning over at the community center. This year at the community center in St. Ignatius will start at 10 o'clock. So if you want to help and come down and participate, please do. It's not only a time a memorial for the Woodcock and the Incashola family, but it's also a time for all the families, all the people that have passed on. Monday, the 21st, is again is a tribal holiday. The tribes have, I believe, 2 floating holidays, and this is one of the days that they have that they pick to. No, I take that back. The 2 floating holidays is not. We just celebrate the Martin Luther King Day. I believe this is what this is. So Monday the 21st is a holiday. Let's see, what's next here? Well, today, like I said, is the month of January. Not only is a time for medicine dances, and after the jump dances, people go into their medicine dances, which is a very, very important part of our culture, because it's a time to prepare for the coming year. It's a time to prepare, to thank the Creator for the past year, a time for some of the medicine men who were very, very powerful in the past utilize this time to do their medicine dances and to help with the illnesses and sicknesses of the people. So also, as I reminded you, this time of the month, I was taught as a young person, when I was still young, that as soon as it starts getting dark, I was told to go back into the house. I was not allowed to. The kids, when we were kids, we weren't allowed to stay outside and play we had to go back in as soon as they started getting dark because of the powerful spirits and things that were going on out there. So I advise you to continue to listen to your elders when they tell you to bring your children in at that time of the day when it starts getting dark, to do so. Today, because like I said, it's not only that, it's storytelling time. People are kind of a downtime for people in the past, that this was a good time to tell stories and to educate our young people. And today my guest is Stephen Smallsalmon, who's here to talk about some of the Indian laws that we have here. And we'll get started with Stephen and go ahead and get him started. And I know we got a break coming up. So with that, I'd like you to welcome Stephen Smallsalmon and listen to what he has to share with you. Stephen?
I'm Stephen Smallsalmon, like Tony was saying. We used to go hunting across the river, you know, the woodcocks, the Incasholas, and the Dirglos. And there's a lot of things that we forgot that was Indian laws, you know. I call it Indian laws. Maybe some other people call it different things, but to me, you know, when we used to go across the river and when we were very young, we used to go hunting, and it seemed like the men folks would go up into the mountains, and there was not very much game in those times. And when we were doing some hunting, we'd hunt those hills across the river. Then it seemed like when I was a young person, a lot of young people, well, Louis Incashola and Bap, and they're about the same age as I was, you know, Eddie Woodcock, and we used to go hunting across there. And when that was my first time, you know, it seemed like I was a young person. And we'd go and we'd hunt, and the old people like Thomas, there was Thomas's, he was older, and he'd tell us what to do to the old man when we kill our deer, you know, how to prepare it, you know, gut it and do whatever have to be done. You didn't waste anything, you know. And when you kill a deer, then when you first kill, you'd take a piece of heart, then you give us it was raw, you know, and we had to chew it. And that's for, to be a good hunter, to think about the life you took of a deer, you know. We didn't waste anything. And the ladies would stay home, you know, and dry meat and prepare the meat for us, you know, for the winters. And that was good, you know. And we'd take the pea bag. I remember when I was very young, this is what I learned. Maybe you guys learned different ways. But they would hang up the pea bag, and we'd say a prayer to the Creator, you know. We'd say, we took your life, so this is for good luck. And these things are forgotten, you know. I think about it. I sit back, and I remember Pete Beaverhead used to say, you don't aim a gun unless if you're going to shoot somebody, you know, because there's always a shell in there. And I believe that, you know. And one time I was home and I pulled that trigger, you know, and by gosh, there was a shell in there. It went right through my TV, and I was at my mom's place, and it went right through that TV, and I was, kind of a scary thing, you know. Then up in the woods, you know, my mom used to tell me, when you go up in the woods, you know, and they tell them, it's sorteli. They tell you to take a pin, you know. Take a needle, pin, and put it on your shirt. Then you go up into the mountains. And that's to protect you, you know, from that bird or whatever it is, you know. It's sorteli, which means it's usually a grouse that you ever walk into the mountains and you're walking and person, it just flies and it scares you, you know, you just look and you look at, and those are the things, you know, that's really important, you know, because you go up into the mountains, there's evil spirits up there, and there's good spirits, you know, like the trees that make you breathe, And all these things that we have to know, about the mountains. I learned from the elders, I used to sit with the elders like Pete Beaverhead, Thomas Incashola, Lawman Woodcock, and all these guys used to talk about stuff like that, You'd sit and they would start talking to you. What's good and what's not good, And today I've been thinking back on all the stuff that we should know, because we just walk in the mountains. We could do whatever we want to do, and don't think about the sickness you could pick up. Oh, and that this sortedico, is that's another thing, that could bring a sickness, So you got to watch out what you're doing, and that pin helps you out, So today I appreciate talking to the young people about it. Everybody, just start thinking back about it.
Okay, we're going to take a short break here now, Stephen, and we'll be right back and listen to Stephen to what other things that he has as far as what he calls Indian law. We'll be right back.
The choices we make today affect our options for tomorrow. I choose not to smoke and pursued my ability to sing. I've been able to travel, make new friends, and see different cultures. Choose carefully. Don't limit your future.
Welcome back to Indian Time. Today, my guest is Stephen Smallsalmon from the Job Corps, Ronan area. He's here talking about Indian law. A long time ago, Indian people have their own laws about different things. I guess that the values of who we are as Indian people were very important. And having these values, these laws were very important. And these are the things that guided us, guided our ancestors throughout the years. And a lot of these laws guide us today in life. So today, as I said, the guest is Stephen, and let's listen to Stephen to see what other things he has to share with us. Okay, Stephen?
I was just talking to Tony here. Thank you, Tony. And I was talking about Pete Beaverhead again. He was my teacher, and he taught me a lot of things. I used to go, and that was my mom's brother, Mary Smallsalmon. Anyway, one time I went up to his place, and he was telling me a story that I really enjoyed. He cut out a stick about this long. I was going to bring it today, but I forgot. And he put different colors on it, green, red, yellow. And it was about this long, and he was telling me, he said, I want to tell you a story, He said, long time ago, he said, there was many chiefs. He said, there was not just one chief. There was one chief for all the chiefs. There was a chief for the horses and taking care of the camps or getting wood or doing other things, And he said, and there was one main chief, and everybody had this stick. They would give him a stick. Every camp, they had a teepee. So everybody had a stick, and they were colored, whatever colors you liked, good colors, whatever your favorite color is. So every night, every morning come, you'd put out your stick out there, in front of your camp. And people look at it, and that's where you hang your eagle feathers up. You'd say, if you do something right, then you get an eagle feather. So the most eagle feathers if you get, like if you go probably get buffalo or kill your enemy, or then they give you a feather on it. And that was important to me, I enjoyed that story, because that was different from, say, like the other stories. And he said in the mornings he'd come around and he'd look. This was years ago, when it's still it was tough times yet. Then he'd come around, well, good times, I should say. Then he'd come around and he'd look at all the fellers, and if there's a one with a lot of fellers, then eagle fellers, then they'd put him up in front, you know. The chief would come up and talk to him, you know. Not just the one person, but the ones that got a lot of fellers. And he said that was the person that was, it shows that he was a great warrior, you know. Then those things there, you know, I used to listen to. Pete had a lot of stories he'd tell, you know. Then getting back to the esoteric, you know, I was just told Tony about it. And he told me it happened to him, you know, and then Mom had a story that he told about that. He said there was an Indian way up in the mountains. That person didn't come back, you know, and that was Mary Smallsalmon's story. And he said he didn't come back, so the party went up there looking for him. They went way up there where they used to hunt, and they found this guy, you know. He was standing under a tree, and this bird was sitting up on a limb, you know. This grouse, I guess that's kind of took his took whatever he had, you know, his soul, I guess. That's what I call it, a soul. And he said the guy was looking up there, you know. And my mom said they went and got some stuff and they put it in his nose and tried to make him come out of it, you know. This thing here is, it's scary, you know, scary stuff like that. Like I say, the mountains, you know, it could be a good thing and it could be bad, you know. Depends how you take it, you know. And just like I say, the trees, they makes you breathe better, you know. And I've learned this from the elders, you know, because there's a lot of things up there. There's a lot of medicines up there, of everything, you know. Today we seem like we hardly use that. Few people still teaching that, you know, and like Johnny Arley and Felisky, and they all know all these things. And Tony down his office, they know all these things here. It's in paper or in tapes. But to me, it's important to learn about the mountains, you know. When I was a young person, I used to hunt all over those mountains. I used to go all over, you know, just enjoy myself, you know, just walking through those mountains and those trails. There's so many trails. And I'd look down a valley and you see all those ponds. There'd be a lot of ponds down there. And I'd think about that, you know, then I'd start coming back down in the evenings. Sometimes way late at the evenings, I wouldn't be back until pretty late, you know. And I enjoy these mountains, and we should take care of our mountains, take care of our lakes. And this is a really good place to live here in this valley, you know. And a lot of people are starting to find out about this valley. They start coming around, you know, moving in here. So, but anyway, this is what I wanted to say and talk about the old time, but Pete Beaverhead, my mom, and Thomas Incashola, Lome Woodcock, all these people. There was a lot of old people, you know.
What about other things that, you know, is any other kind of laws that you can think of?
Well, there was some laws, you know, like if you go to the wakes, you know, that seem like, I call it laws, but some people don't call it laws, you know. Like some people a long time ago, we used to just sit there, you know. We couldn't move around. Seemed like we didn't bring our kids, you know, to the wakes. Seemed like we just leave them home, you know, and things like that, you know. And you pray to if you go swimming, you know, in the river or anything, seems like everybody say a little prayer, you know, before you go in, you know, and you go swimming, you know. Those things are the things that, those are the Indian laws, I call it, you know. Maybe it's not Indian law, but to me, their Indian law take care of it and take care of their waters and their rivers, you know, and yourself that you're going in, you know.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Stephen. I'd like to thank again Stephen for coming over today and being part of our show. There's so many different things in our culture and our ways that I think that we have a tendency to forget. And I think if we would remember a lot of those, if we would go back and teach our children those laws, those values of our parents and grandparents, I think a lot of things would change. A lot of the respect that we have, not only for the animals, but for each other. A lot of those things are lost. And these are some of the things that Stephen was talking about, is what we grew up with. It was every day we were taught something. Every day those laws we were reminded of these laws. The respect, the simple things of respect, you know. So you knew, you know, for instance, the thing that Stephen was talking about, having a shaft or a stick in front of the camps, where the chief would look at this and see that just by the colors, you know, what kind of great deeds this person did, and that brought that person up in ranks. And these are the kinds of people that earned the right to be leaders and then eventually be chiefs or sub-chiefs in the tribe, to care for the tribe. Not just anybody was allowed to go out there, and because you had to earn the right to be able to protect and to serve your people. And we need to think about those things today. We've lost those things. Our young people have lost that respect for one another, for our elders, for our environment, and so there's a lot of laws that we were brought up with, and unfortunately some of the children today have not had that opportunity, but they can learn, and they can go to the people and learn these things. Again, I'd like to thank Stephen for being part of our show today. Our place name again today was Timsimtli, which is Lolo. Our animal was Chilech, which is muskrat, and our plant was Punch, juniper. I'd like to say Lemon Specia, Pissen Kuschelich, and Kme Presiat Juan. We'll see you at the next show.